She was not happy anyway.
Right now, this is as loud as the microphone gets, so yeah, okay, right now I feel like a Labour candidate here. I feel slightly nervous in the Earlsdon constituency, but I'm sure it'll be okay. Now, welcome, one and all, to the inaugural Earlsdon Festival Spoken Word Adventure. Now, there's loads of people. I don't think you imagined getting this many people, so this is amazing. So give yourself another round of applause. So, some of you might, I don't know, might or might not like to know really that one of the events happening tonight is at the City Arms, where they're giving away free money. But unfortunately you're missing out on that. So, it's okay. Money's the root of all evil. So, it's great to be here at the wonderful back room of Royal Oak pub. And we have a fantastic array of fantastic, fabulous fellows here to give you the gift of live spoken wordness. Okay. And we have performance stuff, we have rap, we have storytelling, animation, haiku.
Bless you.
No haiku. Yeah. And of course, poetry. We have headline acts. We have Earlsdon's own Avril Newey. Round of applause for Avril. And we have the one and only Antony Owen. So, okay. So, what I thought first, perhaps, is some of you will know one another, some of you won't. And I think, first of all, if we just, all of us, shake hands with somebody that's right next to you. Say hello, forgive them, forgive yourselves.
My name's Jason. Sorry. Okay. I should try and stay
Now, what we're going to do first is we're going to think about the upcoming election. So, anyone here ever wonder what goes on inside Colchester's mind at all?
Fresh air.
Fresh air? Not hot air? Fresh air? Anyone what? No, because I've been kind of reading the Mirror and stuff like that, and watching Dave and whatnot, and I know, and I've written a little poem about what goes inside Colchester's minds at this time of year. So I'm going to deliver it to you. And this particular poem is called The 8th of May. Now, it's a participatory poem, so it's quite rubbish really, so you guys have to get involved to make it good. So, when I say, na 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 na, you have to repeat, please. Na 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 na. Thank you very much. That's fantastic, thank you. Okay. Na 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 na. We won, you didn't. My plan worked, somehow. I knew it would. I planted more smackaroonies on more screaming babies. I promised more stuff, all sorts and loads, was sure to help frail old dears to cross busy, smelly, horrid roads. Ha ha! Guess what? I get to speak to none other than Mr. Obama. As to on the phone, whenever I please, and dressed in nothing but my Super Ted pyjamas. Na 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 na. We won. You didn't. I get to go to high tea regularly with, believe it or not, Her Royal Highness the Queen. Lizzie Wizzy to me. I'll have chocolate cake, vanilla ice cream, lemon sorbet, as much as I please. But shh, don't tell Mrs. Prime Minister, or for that matter, Matron, or Teddy, or Mummy. And guess what else? I get to be on telly whenever I choose, and everyone will have to listen to me. And on weekends, I get to sunbathe in my best stripy pants, at Chequers of course, surrounded by guards. Or perhaps I should slum it and glamp, for even more votes next time around from the poor, downtrodden, middle class. Boo-hoo for them. And hurrah for me! I won! I get to gobble a giant box of celebrations during boring, snoring talks at something called the United Nations. You, on the other hand, came second. You get a sombre sit down with your favourite scribe to humbly, wistfully draft a sorrowful letter of resignation. Na 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 na. We won. You did. Thank you very much.
I always thought your face looked a bit grey and pale in McHugh. Endure a drop of tear, displays of how innocence is a view. Oh, the sky that once fell through a grave, a glass mirror in a cracked vase. In womb a body was womb delivered, river's head in Mars. When I see you spin in your red, your body bled, the baby's dead. I took you taken to the accident and emergency. You really needed some blood, some colour in your life. Like in mine, I had a rainbow, but all you had was rain and more rain. Splish splash. Our bodies pass in a corridor painted white, and we sit down in a canteen and talk forever about the weather. How's your father? What you doing over summer? Well, it's funny you should ask that. I went to the moon and back before I collapsed and became pregnant. In my head once time and I woke up. Woo! I was in bed with Mars and then Saturn. And then I was long gone. Head out of space in my long johns. Because we all own long johns, don't we? What do? Don't go outside. Don't go outside. I never wanted for you to go outside, but when you went I was by your side. I had to follow you, I had to follow you, but I never wanted to follow you in the first place. Don't go elsewhere. Don't go over there, don't go over there, don't go over there. If you go over there, watch out, there's a train and it's coming, understanding on the lines, understand that you're fine, but it's an understatement of mine. It's an understatement of mine, until your body is under the train. Huh. And then a unicorn comes and we're falling through the air until we're falling through. We're free. I never could ask about anything more, but your pants were laid there, growing stains on the floor. And the hens are laying eggs, but your legs are no more. Cries or chicks as they die on the floor by the roadside. Crying no more by the side of the aisle. of the man who grew balls and cried Jesus and schools. But they nail clipped the wings of the baby who wailed and got put in a cage, denied water and stone, fed the blood of all innocent shilling creatures. What's below is the shelf life which cried home, bodily whole, 6-pack of eggs, and the lifetime in hell. And when do we turn round and say sorry? Not again. Will we do this? And the children lie dead on the field. The cows led a sky, a cough, a tube, in greed, in greed. Our feed is nothing more than a corpse, not alive, no. We take as real. To survive, we squeeze and slit necks with a knife. Well, sorry, I apologize. Thank you.
Boys on the battlefield. We talked of war and all its consequences. Made barbed wire, constructed trenches. We made the guns and ammunitions too. Ships that sailed, planes that flew. We watched their faces excited and wide-eyed. Boys would be boys. We saw their pride. We witnessed the shedding of the old school blazers, exchanged by boys for cutthroat razors. We saw them marching off to war. Our tears were shed. Their hearts did soar. And finally they fought, and hoped their courage would not fail. And in their youth they fell and died in deadly passion there. This next poem is called Heritage. My dad worked down the pit until he wasn't fit anymore and became something else. And this is poem about that. See what we have made with steel and with stone. What we wrestled from wood to tunnel towards our goal. In a blackness that hid the blood spilled in the cutting of coal, collected and carted from caverns, to feed the pot banks and kilns for the baking of bricks and the sculpting of china, to feed the forges and fires for the rotting of iron and the rolling of steel, to drive the machines for the warp and the weft and the warming of hearths. All gone now. It was better to have that pain than this pill, so bitter to swallow and taste against our will. They call it progress, then heritage, a cultural downsizing from thousands of jobs to the bare bones of skeleton crews with a script. This one's almost cheery. Anyway, this is called School Days. I remember rolling up my sleeves and wasting my own time, then knuckling down I bit my lip and searched for the sublime. We had to write in blue-black ink that came back mixed with red. Despite my tireless working out, some answers always fled. I strained with syntax, suffering, perhaps too keen to learn those arithmetic methods that I struggled to discern. In languages and literature, with meaning buried deep, translation just beyond my grasp, declension haunts my sleep. In music and in sporting games, an awkwardness persisted. I was out of key or just in touch as I mentally resisted. In metalwork sat mockery, in woodwork just the same, and I overburnt my teapot stand to my eternal shame. Biology was fun and games, my books were full of flaws, dreadful with the diagrams that my pencils failed to draw. With physics and with chemistry, such molecular momentum, Where nature's laws did not apply, I thought that I'd invent them. For all of that I muddled through. Each day was cursed or blessed. Exams and then the holidays. Yes, those school days were the best. Lucky for you, this is my last one. This is a war poem called As We Call It. 'Twas Taffy ran the cafe, as we called it in those times, and Paddy did the stand-up and some really awful mimes. Old Jock was full of stories, wild and lonely, this and that, and Bert the heavy smoker kept a packet neath his hat. A band of brothers hoping for an end to all this war, an end to all the killing, back to how it was before. Eddie played harmonica, such melancholy tunes, and Baby read the tea leaves, the soggy stew of runes. The captain quoted Socrates, and philosophers aplenty. Our Geordie was the first to die. He wasn't even 20. Thank you very much.
Okay, this is The Legend of Dargan Doll. Dargan was a fisher girl, as brave on sea or land. She'd spear a shark from on the shore and drag it to the strand. They say her grip was like a vice, her smile a searchlight's gleam. They say her legs, twin masts of strength, were carved from oaken beams. Landing on the beach one day, with brothers Pat and Mike, old Patsy Field sat down beside to halt and fill his pipe. "Have you been in the town today?" said Patsy to the three. "Not since Sunday, dear old friend. There was but nought to see." "Well, get yourselves up through the town and down to the square. You'll find a monster of a dog and its master standing there. 'Tis fish we seek, not demon dogs. We don't have time to waste. Old Dargan dear, a purse of gold awaits the one he'll race." "Then lift your cast," said Dargan Doll, "and if the truth be told, I'd rather have a fish to fry than promises of gold. But Dargan dear, your brothers here can do without you once, and with your speed you'll do the deed and be back with a pounce. Your shadow needs a healthy start when running's on your mind. You'll give this mutt a snout of dirt and leave you far behind." "Away with you," said Dargan Doll, "I'm off to work the sea. Hounds of hell and bags of gold hold no appeal for me." The trio laboured merrily, spearing without cease, till from the beach there came a shout to end the evening's peace. "Oh, Dargan Doll, come now, come quick, and bring your brothers too. We are undone if you don't come. Our village is doomed." So Dargan jumped, and in a skip she stood upon the square. The laughing man, with leash in hand, and groaning dog stood there. "So here's the one my purse of gold could not tempt from the water. The one whose feet are blessed with speed, the township's favourite daughter. I said no once, I say no twice," said Dargan to the man. "Why do my friends here fear you so? What makes them so afraid?" "Bills, my dear, and rent arrears. I paid the lot today. If you don't choose to race my hound, your friends and kin will pay. I've bought the land from under every homestead here around. Refuse to race, I'll clear these homes and raise them to the ground. Tomorrow morning, Dargan Doll, you'll come and meet us here for the rules and race of freedom for the ones you hold so dear." Friends and neighbours came to call with gifts of food and drink, but no one did she see that night. Alone, she lay to sleep. Before the sun had tipped the sky, our Dargan was prepared. With reverence, the crowd did part a path into the square. Fishermen and beggarmen responded to the call. From miles about you hear them shout, "Support our Dargan Doll!" The man and dog stood side by side and greeted her with glee. "I suppose now, girl, you'd like to know what's in this deal for me. I have gold and land aplenty, but no company can I keep. My soul of hate exacerbates my loneliness and grief. So run this race and I'll release your people from their strife. But if you lose, O Dargan Dall, you must be part my wife. That sounds fair. I'll gladly race and set the people free. But if I win, the purse of gold is not enough for me. Promise me a single thing you have upon your person and sign a contract, so I know our bargain it is certain. Clever girl, O Dargan Dall. Besides my purse of gold, the trinkets that adorn me have each one a price untold. Now here's a map, O Dargan Dall, the course I do propose. My dog has run it many times. Each rock and stream he knows. Now take your mark and steel your heart to face and lace my hand. Before tonight, I'll call you wife upon the holy ground. A lady stepped out from the crowd, all stooped with whitened hair. With Dargan's pride, Faye Dundee, good wishes did she bear. Darling girl, when you were young, I marvelled at your speed. No force on earth could halt your gait, except Granny's sweeping seeds. You said they gave you strongbow strength. You'd munch them by the load. So take my purse of seeds and blood for strength upon the road. So breath to breath and cheek to cheek, the dog and Dargan stood. She met its stare, hers soft and fair, its eyes shot through with blood. We'll be companions for a time, said Dargan with a smile. I pray you find me worthy, as we parted, mile on mile. Old man Merkel raised his hand to signal to prepare. When my kerchief it hits the ground, be gone, be fast, be fair. All breath was still to watch the tattered rag fall upon the ground. Each person watched the tumbling fall, afraid to make a sound. They're off! Then did the crowd erupt to send her on her way. Leg of girl and paw of dog, igniting into play. The people spilled into the road, the birds broke into song. But in a trice they passed from sight, the dog and girl were gone. From mile on mile, she matched its stride. Its heart matched beat for beat. Soil and blood they scored its paws, the same pain scored her feet. The pain of strain began to speak within her legs and arms. Its voice grew louder every pace, conveying its alarm. The dog, it kept its counsel. Our Dargan kept her head. She charmed the pain with sweetened seeds, distracted from its dread. One by one she gently placed the seed upon her tongue, and felt the calm and pleasure breath return to her own. Dearest hound, it is not fair I taste this feast alone. You will have your share to keep things fair, and he is your aching bones. So in the air she tossed his share of Granny's vital seeds. He gulped them all, not one did fall, or make him drop his speed. Hurrah! Said she, a mighty bite. You are a dog of class. Could you find these precious pips if scattered in the grass? An arching throw our Dargan gave, the seeds went high and wide, but with his tongue he snatched each one and pulled them deep inside. A fairer share there's never been. You've earned your seeds today and made me smile this long last smile. Bravo, brave dog. Fair play. Their circuit reached its furthest point, the homeward stretch begins, and sadness for those waiting there, in hope of friends and kin. Oh, demon dog, I feel I've erred by sharing my sweet feast, for you are not a mortal dog, you are a demon beast. I might have stood the slimmest chance if all the seeds I'd stored. If last I come, I'm ruleless bound to matrimony's cord. But race I do, and race I will. The race it is half past. I'll not be wed without a fight. You'll sweat to make me last. So all the air in their race is used to share their hearts, as dog and girl, all fur and courage, strain but went apart. A silver ribboned river caught the sun to guide them home, but each step they made their feet betrayed by slick, uneven stones. Their route had swept down between the hills and tracked the river's course, but each steep side of water wide was flushed with thorn and gorse. With not much choice, O noble hound, between bank and water's rim, I'll take my chance in river deep. The final stretch, I'll swim. A final leap you'd never seen, she made into the water, but seemed the hound agreed the move, and with a splash, he caught her. The fine sky seemed to feel a fear the girl would still be beaten, so back it curled behind a cloud, and with the sun retreated. The cruel clouds joined the fray that day, conspiring to a squall, and filled the river with its spite to drown our Dargan dog. Both girl and dog, they tumbled on and fought to stay afloat. But water storms hold no surprise to one raised on a boat. Dargan cut the water, punching through, a lead at last. The water, coward by her strength, did part to let her pass. A howl erupted from behind, the dog she turned to see. With savage strength it fought the mane and set its body free. The dog, it moved so fast it seemed to run atop the spray. In a moment it would pass her and would make her lose the day. The duo scrambled to the bank and looked onto the road. The dog indeed took the lead, but suddenly it slowed. No dog will carry soaking fur, less hunting in the rain, so stop and shook as all dogs will, no matter how they're trained. Oh, joy and luck! She ran in front, an unexpected distance. The sky had not abandoned her, but offered kind assistance. With 3 long steps she made the town, with one more leap the square. She raised one hand to wipe her brow and greet those waiting there. The dog it came up from behind and cowed before its master, whose rage was drowned out by the cheers. Relief expressed in laughter. He screamed and shoved, demanding calm till all about were still. I've lost today, but I'll not rest until I've had my fill. Not from here, said Dargan dog. We'll not fulfill your needs. I've nought to share, not bed nor lair, except graze, sweetened seeds. From round her neck, she did remove a plain and simple locket. Her last few seeds she placed inside and into his short pocket. Damn your seeds, and damned you be a satisfactory bride. There's not a strong and willful woman that I need here by my side. My hound I'll take from town to town, till married I will be. I'll win a woman weak and wild and drag her home with me. Come now, dog, he yelled. You've shamed me once, now be alert. But the dog desired what lay inside the locket in his shirt. The foam had spun from out its jaws, and up upon him leaped. His dog had stood upon him square, and kept him from his feet. From on his chest, it clawed his breast, when over strode our Dargan. Before you rise, I'll claim my prize, and you'll fulfill our bargain. You said from on your person I could claim a single treasure. So I shall take the thing from you, assured it will be a pleasure. Go home, to where you'll walk alone, your rivers, fields and bogs. But when you leave, please don't forget to leave behind a dog.
Are you still there? This is my second and last poem to show. Until the late 1950s, still the 2 villages, the top end and the bottom end. But you didn't know Kenilworth was 2 villages, did you? The top end and the bottom end, that under their earlier names, had existed since the 12th century. Still, when I started work, churches were filled with corn sheaves at harvest. The last tradesmen with cart and horse clipped up the streets. Young Mr. Bates, the baker, came to our back door with a basket full of warm, yeasty bread. And the smell of Randall's, Warwick Road's, tanneries, cattle skins got under our own. This is a small southwest-northeast topographical map of the town we called Woof, and the people who belonged there. Cross the Whitemore Bridge. Cross the Whitemore Bridge through ethers of steam to reach the clay and the river. Walk the straight path beside the gravestones and footmarks of 4 centuries of flyers. Take the north path to Broadwell, past the dark pits and the enclosure remembering grasses. Then climb the terrace of the valley's eastern end and gaze across the steep Sentinel Hill. And with races, seek Byron cottages, the vanished ark, the dwellings named St John and Obiborn, the lost front steps of huddled Albion Row, and down the hill beside the Seven Springs. Can you hear them now? The aproned women reciting histories. The men, "Morrow our kid, I do me old lad." Always whistling still. This is called Annie Souls and the Tower Poppies. My paternal grandfather, who died when I was 17, fought in the trenches of France and Flanders, came home with rheumatic fever and trench foot, and went back. My grandmother's brother left an arm at the Somme. They both lived, and so had no Tower of London poppies planted for them. Just imagine the sight of those who came back with their disabilities and terrors had had poppies planted for them too. Annie Souls had 5 planted for her. My maternal great-grandmother came to Kenilworth in the 1870s from the Fossway village of Lowe. My earliest childhood summer holidays were spent there, and I've always believed that that is where my poetry was born. On the eastern side of the cross at that point you find the Wissington villages. Annie Souls lived in Great Wissington and gave 5 of her 6 sons to that war to end all wars. None came back. This is for Annie. How can any of us comprehend arms as empty as yours? One by one, your boys, their eyes brimming with Great Wissington's buttercups, crossing Dick Bridge, turned to see you stopped at Lean Farm, valiant, hairpinned, waving. You knew then, did you, Annie? Your dearest boys, Fred, Bert and Wally, the twins Alf and Arthur, wadding their rifles, fixing bayonets, one after another stumbling out past the last post. Oh, you prayed then. One by one their names came home, black inked onto knife-edged paper. Did someone comfort the postman? Time and again take your rough hands, make hot sweet tea, pat your weeping daughter's pain. Who did you send to tell the bees? And long after springtimes of grass had covered Tigral, and your last boy had stayed his breath, laying down in Cotswold earth, you still raged against your king, would not stand to save, still each evening burnt a candle to light lost Fred home. 100 years gone by, and poppies are picked, polished, sold to a compassionate nation. 5 of the stiff blooms are pulled from your grave, their crimson left to wash into Windrush's flow, flood Lisa Lane, Leave Gate. Something different. For the past 4 years, my partner and I have spent an April holiday in North Lancashire. My son lives there. From the time of our first visit, I've been fascinated by the frequent appearance of my mother's maiden name, Holmes, on town, village, farm and lane signs. The National Trust Surnames website tells me that the name Holmes originated in both Lincolnshire and Lancashire. I wrote this poem a month ago, just before going back up for this year. It only has a dedication. For both my late grandfather, Claudius Holmes of Warwickshire, master joiner and clarinetist, and his first great-grandson, his Huey boy. Is this our land? Is this our land? The place where ours were wont to be? I only know strange pictures stir by Beacon's Hill and Northern Tree. For in these valleys of the Loon your name is spelt, its notes laid down, and on 3 counties hereabouts your letters stand on island, town. I only know you bent your head to wood and plain in Warwick's lanes, and back 300 years before your father's fathers did the same. And yet these homes give breath to me, their spelling archived in my eyes, 200 miles adrift from yours, their comforting warms with surprise. Bluebirds fly worlds, like salmon leap to set their spawn in ancient pool. Did those of ours here shape their name, chant their first song, carve your first tool? Perhaps all kindred travel so, looping in spirals round and round, spreading and tracking tribal sprawl, expanding shape, inscribing sound, until one strand completes its path, and family line coils back to start, where, washed and wise, it heals its ground and lives the summers of the heart. I only know my son finds now this hillside patch on Yorkshire's rim, and calls it home, and loves it dear, and has no children after him. And this is a poem I've just completed last evening. It's a love poem, but it speaks not simply of love, but of the power and of the purpose of love. It's called kataskopos, which is a Greek word which means the looker down. Black, white and grey, we rest halfway up a mountain. You collapsing back against your rucksack, my head a little lower and seemingly balanced on your left knee, as both of us newly met perch like eagles above the sunken valley's geometric fields, sit together in silence, listening to the same air. Such a long time ago, such a long time. Where can I search now to find words, the only words that will simply confirm that it was so? It was so. But what waited for us that day was not new, but as old as that mountain slope, its wind, its scree, its plummet. And we knew it all. Deep inside us enclosed whatever both and that shining air held in common. We're hearing again the thoughts, distance, and chorus that exploded at the birth of worlds. Always ascending, always becoming, forever journeying, finding, echoing, forever making new, forever re-hymning the earth, and forever parting. For how can such unions live on without splitting open the sun's core? How can such poetry be allowed too soon to complete the task of embroidering worlds, of papering a vermilion sky? Time moved round its clock face, and 50 minutes later I caught your voice, sent pictures of mountains, wished you well and happy in writing. You wrote back that they had warned you. 3 weeks later, you died. Set out unaccompanied to climb those slopes again, fold yourself into starlight. It's 7/8 of a life since we first met. And last week I and my now drove north. Halfway up a hill, poems of height and distance hung from a cafe's walls and ceiling, and the young man who plated my lunch told me he was a poet. So here in this Lancashire Valley, with its histories of unmined apple blossom opening to spring, I strain my weakening eyes to a further horizon. Can almost glimpse you on that stone-laden summit. You, back there, arrived, leaning on its hand-print cairn. You, all the colours of the rainbow. You, sounding me words.
Well, this particular kind of falling in love episode didn't quite work out for this gentleman. He's called Scott. It's a bit sad, so I hope you don't feel too upset with this. Oh, to meet a girl called Bridie, or Bridie, or Lily, or Molly, or Hattie, or Millie. A name that's flibbity, gibbety, and prim, and really rather sick. Like Phoebe, or maybe Fifi. Oh, the feeling of gently turned, ankled frippery, and the maddening fragrance of oodles and oodles of very old money. 4,373rd in line to the throne, and tall, steep tales of eccentric ancestry. A girl who's strawberry, and delicately speckled with the most delectable freckles. A girl who swears by slow gin, and loves to bake. Rocky roads, banana breads, and carrot cakes, which are always lopsided, though she cooks them inside symmetrical tins. A girl who's always late, and capriciously distressed in eggshell tones of absent-minded Annie Sloane. I want to save Tibet with her, or somewhere else where people are so very poor it's overflowing with transcendental zen. I want to hold her and ask her to show me how to make lemonade and just what to do with my recycling bins. But she never, ever, ever will. She's only into guys called Henry or Harry or Will or Wills, guys who are impossibly tall, broad and improbably dim, and always adorned with a rhythmically wavy, dark brown, definitely wavy fringe. And speak like rah. Rah, rah, rah. Oh yeah. In scales below baritone, grunts been only inside the vacuous minds of other insufferable guys called Henry or Harry or Will or Wills, and of course girls called Fee or Fifi. I am Scott. Scott, Craig, Darren, Blot. When I fire up my turtle wax cobalt blue Subaru, sure as hell I'll leave you for dead. My leatherette squared off right shoe pressed to the floor, try and pass me by B&Q, my middle finger soon up you and up yours. And in a crimson shirt and tie, reflecting every single ounce of sun and fluorescent strip of light, I weave tall tales of briar twists and short-lived sails in carpet right. My girlfriend Jill wants me to drive her to Nando's, halfway down the A1642. The 5-pointed stars of her brand new die-cast tattoo screeching out from the bridge of her right foot and belching hard from behind her left ear too. A crow-black rat rod rockabilly fringe, a decade or so too late to pretend to be someone she's not. Betty Page would no doubt have covered up and cringed. An All Saints belt, a dull mayo stir and sauce. I hate myself when the life has been
Enough of that. This is called The Writers in Portrait.
Certainly, I'm sure we can help. Allow me to show you. These are the poetry shelves, the versifier's equipment, the poet's devices and instruments, bags and bags of tricks. The old stock on the top shelf, vellums, quills, oak ink, steel nibs and blotting paper. So much dust now that rhyme is out of favour. Below, the stock clearers, correction fluids, Harbins, Remington and Olivetti ribbons, only black remaining. The reconditioned Royal, somewhere on the case. The next shelves are what you'll need. From the finest Japanese steel of the haiku spanners, the heavy duty adjustables to tighten your stanzas, the pliers to pull your phrases into place, wrenches, repetitions, misplaced words, repetitions, epic chisels to chip away cliches, lighten the lyric load, hammers to temper lines that do not seem to work in the way that you want them to, the ball peen for beating out ballads, the claw for clauses that cause concern. The bottom racks are the finest linen shrouds for unscanning sonnet and sestina, vague villanelles, the stillborn ideas, tapers to lighten their passing. Illuminate your imagination's flight, burn away shadows and indecision until the brightness of an idea dawns. This is for one of those moments in your life, school days life, that stick with you for reasons that were kind of not planned. This is for a guy who taught chemistry, who ever dropped things or knocked things over. He was therefore called Basher. His name was Basher Banks. It's the Basher Banks of the Apocalypse. Roll up, the legendary Basher Banks, chemist and pyromaniac, will perform Thursdays, 11 AM prompt. Chemistry for fourth-year boys who may think he's a bumbler, a fool, a mountebank. Extraordinary, almost incredible, stern and severe, no one seen him smile. He puffs his lavish grey steel fringe will float above his cold blue eyes. Without the benefit of safety net or goggles, in teacher's regulation gown, experiments to excite the boys, demonstrations to boggle adolescent eyes. Roll up. With nitrogen, most liquid, you'll freeze the tubes of supple rubber, crack them on the hardwood bench, see them break, see them shatter. Underneath the bench, boys, he'll cry on exiting the door. Phosphorus, alive in naked air, not the standard gram for Basher, chunks he'll cut, shower the room with melted fire. Underneath the bench, boys, he'll cry on exiting the door. Sodium he'll drop in water, watch it dazzle as it spits, a demon in a flask of glass. Too much, the glass is shattered. Underneath the bench, boys, he'll cry on exiting the door. Turpentine he'll set on fire, causing smoke and thick black soot. See it sticking to the ceiling, watch it drip down from above. Underneath the bench, boys, he'll cry on exiting the door. Then chlorine he'll introduce. No flames, no bands, no rising panic. We think his chemistry cold and factual. To his face throws grave, his manner sober. He curses, summons up a different man. Speaks of Wilfrid Owen, recites Dulce et Decorum from memory. His tears welling before our eyes. As the bell sounds, in deeper silence than we ever know. A very short one, called Sometimes You Don't Need Words. I hold the shoes she was wearing. She lifts the plimsolls from the table. They're clean and white. She tries them on. The fit. She looks at me. We both look down. I nod. Put her shoes on the pile. Someone picks them up. Oh, they're still warm. We look at each other. Perfect. And The writer is tired of his name. He's counted the letters, scores 34 without trying. He has letters to spare. He'd like to give them away or trade them in. He stopped signing his name in full some years ago. You can only read the first letter now if he makes the effort. He has a middle name. His mother only used it when he was naughty. His mother did not like her name either. His parents like to play Scrabble. He knows there are 26 letters, wonders why he got the ones he has. Admits that he should be grateful he has no Q's, 10 points, or Z's, another 10-pointer. With a double word score, he might score 68, treble word 102. His sister, 42, escaped and got a name with only three letters, 13. He is envious, considers stealing it. His sister will notice. He is not often envious, not of your car or your house, maybe of bees, 6, 12, 18, that calculate the distance from food and whether it's worth collecting. Maybe of a dog's daily enthusiasm, a distant window view of a ruined abbey, a room with enough bookshelves, 23, 46, 69. A poem he wishes he'd written. Maybe of first-class airport lounges, the ability to sing in tune, sew or knit. He knows that bees, dogs and birds and frogs cannot knit or sew. He doesn't want to sing like them. He is unclear about the names of all the 7 deadly sins, though he is not jealous of zebra stripes, 17, axolotl skills, 15, or ziggurat builder's achievements, 19, 38, or 57. He has been lustful, eaten an unnecessary second piece of cake more than once, 12, and sometimes sits and stares into space, not at the stars whose names he wishes he could remember, or the satellites, or the taillights of aeroplanes, just the blank infinity of it all.
So, yeah, it was very much a community project. So these are the people who wrote the haiku: Hilka Armstrong, Kelly Barnacle, Judy Bowden, Helen Brown, Angie Coles, Mary Courtney, here tonight, Jane Steely, Laura Elliott, Lillian Martha Friesen, Liz Hall, Louise van der Linden, Connie Larginson Newell, Nicola McGarvey, Howard O, Debs Ridgewell, Beth Rutland, Lindy Smith, Steve Urbanski, and photographed by James Bottom, myself, Rachel Farthing, Dave Gray, Michael Hanson, Susan Hull, and Janet Vaughan. That's a lot of talking, sorry. I wanted to give people credit. Right. No good at poems, writing haiku for a friend. That's what I call them. Yeah, don't clap in between each other, I said. Thank you. We could be all right.
Love economy, lonely dawn light turning off the electric nights.
As my life drags on, colourful leaves pass by me. Then I realise
A small shiny stone, sitting in a slow river. Bubble, bubble, plop.
sweet summer flower, how to capture sunny days. Bake it in a cake.
Empty plastic cup, clip-clopping Coventry streets. We dream of horses.
Magnesium sun, a silhouetted steeple, whitewashed wall of sky.
Daisies are dancing, their arms of light expanding, the icing on the hill.
In my window bobs a hawthorn tree. Red berries call hungry blackbirds.
encountering fire, invigorating bonnets, sinus clearing sauce.
Crumbs on the plum rug. Cup of tea spilled on the side. Hospitality.
Shop girl looks sullen. Granny asks her about straws. Turns out they're both sweet.
7 days of sun. Surprise light crept low and warm. Paves the winter's way.
The wind and the rain, the pounding of the same beat, the finish, silence.
Maybe we'll have some a pause for applause actually. It's feeling very quiet up there. Spilt oil on the road. This is a grateful applause. Spilt oil on the road. Split 7 rainbow colours. The promise is true.
Such a rainy day, bare branches up to the sky are covered in pearls.
The city darkens. The voices of the pigeons are faintly lighter.
Bitter, cloudy night. Castle Common with friends while shooting stars fly by.
Stuck in the darkness, where there's no light to be found. So pull up your blinds. That concludes our presentation.
And sometimes we have things that we plan. I usually use a voice recorder when I'm writing to plan my day and plan my tasks and my lectures and my answers. Again, it's about wondering what will be enough time. So 5 minutes of time is what I think about. I run everywhere, even when I'm walking. Calm up. Double yellow lines, bit of that. It's about looking, but not really looking. Afterwards, you reflect and you think, what do you remember? All those yellow lines that calm up, and those strange things that just pass by. And colours and coordination that doesn't quite match, but you somehow bring with you to the next bit of your daydreams. Escape. Dance, stop, again. And one of my work is about moving, dancing, keep up on the family. I'm kind of use of the everyday that we see but we can't quite remember. I know it was a lot of good ones that I remember. I don't really know where they were. So listening to conversations like on train, in the seat behind me, some young people, they're always listening to them and people that are actually they give you ideas and inspiration. So in the seat behind them, in front and over there somewhere, there's one quiet man. And he's really interested because she says nothing. But I'm sure he's thinking about it. He's not really interested in talking about their things, not interested. So glimpses of the everyday, life and gossip, is what I do. An hour between 7 and 8 in the morning and 7 and 8 in the evening. They talk about football. And they should be talking about myself. A broken trailer is what we see when we pass somewhere near Milton Keynes, I think. A broken trailer that looks like a stage, a would-be stage, where I should be doing the performance, and I might go back and see. Just by the train line, where the horses lie down, so you would be able to see a glimpse from it, if you were vigilant enough to look out at that point. Weather permitting, that photo of the barn comes to mind. Where a woman lies down next to the horses. This is a view from the daily view of the station leaving or approaching. And this one is with that really useful space imagery about breaking the rules. If the rule is to have no rules, then maybe you could try breaking that. This is the costume a friend of mine suggested I wear through it from his suggestion. Because I used to run, well I ran a lot, but I used to fall over when I ran. And he said you should wear that kind of costume. I don't know what I said, but it's ad hoc. TikTok, ad hoc. Thank you very much.
Some open micers. We've got 6 open micers, and they're going to do one poem each, starting with John Marshall, and then we've got Des McHugh, Andrea, and we've got Josie, and Adam Steiner, and Alison Absolute. So,
winter winds, blow the winds southerly, 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 blow the winds southerly o'er the hardy blue sea. Winter winds. There's been a change. Easterlies, a breath of chill which creeps, carrying sadness, loneliness and fear, frightening easterlies. Blow the winds slowly, slowly, slowly. Blow the wind, breeze down my lover to me. All your asses we've had quite sore now because you've been sitting a long time. So, and we're the sort of like the After the Lord Mayor's show. So I'd like to take you on a little walk to Newcastle on the Tyne. And on the Tyne, of course, it used to be very busy. Loads of things going on. Not now, of course. City River Walk. Know the first cold clearness of an early November morning, walking, observing wheeling and gliding gulls who now own the river. Once, sound wherries crowded countless working men alongside, plying trades, awaiting the age of steam and smoke, cranes and ships from the east. Crying gulls accompany the solitary walk through dawn misty times, deserted fishing boats hauled and stranded on mud flats, decaying gaff rig on a wooden hull, returning to its origins. No one had yet stirred in the line of speculative flats, dipping their footings at the water's edge. Reach Sent Anywhere basin, battened against the falling tide, there among Saturday's parted cans, yesterday OK mags and daily smuts, and takeaway cartons and oily patches, lie limply tied day boats, small yachts, soft inflatables, algae covered, a sign of little use. Flats, 4-storey uniformity, surrounded the lifeless water black. Cloned iron balconies facing, each allocated 2 plastic chairs, white, jostling to capture a few past rays of summer. Returning west, low sun casting long shadows on the flashing river ripples, captured by a lonely Lowry photographer. Suddenly, cage doors open. From the tiered hutches, screen watchers, IT, hurrying with sleep-sealed lids, coats streaming, clutching a polystyrene coffee and a bun, heads down, texting, lured by the musk of the city. Silent death note. Stop. Shh. Listen. Hear the singing river ghosts. Where are the working men? Pull the paint up, haul the load. Where are the working men? Pull the paint up, bend your backs. Iron rivets, steel hoops. Wooden barrels made by coops. Hey, look boys, there on the banks. Again, men go working designer suits. Yuppie clubs, fancy shoes, heel blues, vodka shots, fighting cocks. Where are the working men? Pull the paint up, spit calloused hands. Guineas at home, babs on the tip, pint at the bar, fags on the lip, dogs on the lead, down dads down the pit, shovel short, dust on the lung. Where are the working men? 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 Where are the working men?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, this is basically about someone who was asked to do a poem. Never done poetry or been into poetry, then had visions of grandeur, thinks he's got to rule the world as we all can do, and then reality kicks in. Basically, it's just so you can. I was asked to do a poem. It nearly sent me pity. Don't really want to be here. Be me, Scotty. But if I relax, improve my timing, the words will flow. Maybe start rhyming. So I'll take a deep breath, have a sip of me beer, and give it a go. Now that I'm here. It don't seem so hard, this poetry lark. It's easy peasy, a stroll in the park. Let's give it a go, do it for life. Give up me day job, no trouble, no strife. My poems will flow with passion and feeling. I'll wow the crowds, I'll have them reeling. I'll have it all, a life, what a life. Houses, cars, yachts, and yes, a model life. My poems will ooze with guile and flair. I'll be rich and famous. I'll be a millionaire. But what if they hate me? Start to slate me. Throw eggs, boo and hiss. Laugh and sneer, take the piss. I just couldn't take that kind of flack. I'd start to crumble. I'd start to crack. So let's think about this. Just hold fire. I'm no poet. I'm gonna retire. Sorry about that. Got carried away. Time to touch base. See the light of day. Scaring me to death. Standing here every day. Racking me brains, thinking what to say. Honestly, Des, you are a fool. Teachers always said, you're as thick as a mule. There was me, happy and beaming. My mum always told me, you must stop dreaming. I'm no poet. Not even worth trying. Or like you see aliens, the little pigs flying. Anyway, I'm happy in the garden, just while away the hours. I love that chair of mine, and tending me flowers. It ain't so bad, and it ain't a pity. At the end of the day, we've still got the city. But to top the lot, what floats my boat is having a pint in the Royal Lake.
It's called White Girl. It's not my biography, so I don't need one of those introductions. Porn star lottery. I'm not a porn star. Porn star lottery win white girl sits in the African staff room and muses that colonialism never died and white is still touted as best by aspirational media enterprise, as she fields unasked for advances in a strange language, as she fields hate-filled glances from local women. Porn star lottery win white girl sits in the corner with her African tea, Nido, so sugary it makes her teeth hurt, and tries to smile politely. When a new man arrives, he says hello, shakes her hand and turns around. She is so grateful to be ignored, her interest is piqued. Porn star lottery win white girl's relationship is considered to be part of a colonial master plan to support genocide in the jungle. She becomes public enemy white girl. Her friends and in-laws are interviewed and she is followed on buses. She is sick with whiteness. Public enemy outpatient white girl's doctor is Russian Rwandan and very kind. Public enemy outpatient white girl reads how colonialism birthed the genocide, learns about how French and English interests fed its flames and fight over the spoils. She lives now where there once was the zone turquoise and understands. Public enemy white girl becomes teacher nicknamed Rasta white girl because she tries to be nice to everyone beyond social convention. It is a victory of sorts. And then her friend is shot in Burundi. She hears laughing rebels killed her first with deliberate irony for being English, gleefully waving their English guns. It's hard leaving Rwandan family and friends, people who survived and saw under her skin and passed her early in thinking racism. She brings her husband home to England. Middle-class white girl, which is at least true, walks her baby in the park and realises with her brown girl in the pram, she is now trashy, easy benefits class white girl. She is nigger-loving traitor white girl, fielding poison words and glances, and sometimes bananas. Too white for you? Not white enough? Whatever. You can think about her what you like. She'll still live happily ever after. Just don't try telling her colonialism is dead.
And this is called Drunk Pablo. It's a ode to Pablo Neruda. This white wine is harsh like turpentine and gives warm but bitter kisses. My legs are pressed against the chair, wedged, and the slats imprint their nautical strength. On your cotton shirt are tiny flowers. I reach over and rub it between my fingers. You looking into my eyes and blinking, testing my metal, biting into my steel rim on the hot night sails. Is this our longest day, our solstice, our time together? I was wrapped in your arms when I woke. On my face, the breath in your lips. We smelled of sex and of citrus lime. Tie these knots you have to awake. I am told. Earlsdon. Tether me to these islands. Hook me like a fish. Caught in the net of our kisses.
Yeah, my name's Steiner. This is a poem called The Scale, Part 1. With accuracy and without prejudice, all you've written, seen and said, to wear the scars, denying the blind countenance of regret. Unsmiling teeth, sown in useless rows, burnt out brass lingers long after shells protection is spent. Under losing boughs of divided skies, tessellate shards refract the dancing wreath of birds in flight. She remade the scale. Ugly truths lent their weight to her palm. Force against conflict, distance versus genocide, so others might follow, demanding of new words. I lived through language that must be seen to be heard. Thank you very much.
This is the poem. It's called Prophylactic. Venereal infection is a problem if you're not too careful where you put your dick. The answer lies in better education. It all starts with a condom and a stick. When educating certain groups and cultures, you must respect the real quality, which means no diagrams or plastic models. You can only use a condom and a stick. And so the hapless health worker must manage with broom handle to represent a prick, to demonstrate the use of prophylactics by rolling out a condom on a stick. And now the lucky youth, thus educated, feels free to run amok and dip his wig. Don't worry, girls, he tells the local lovelies. I've got myself a condom on a stick. And so they fornicate with gay abandon. They're free, they know, from ever getting sick, because they have the white man's juju firmly planted outside the hut. A condom on a stick. And when the women folk start falling pregnant, their stomachs fatten and their waists grow thick. It's not my fault. The sorry youth keeps crying. I've got a dodgy condom on me stick. The moral is to treat your body wisely. Be very careful what you do for kids. And please ignore the idiots who tell you that it helps to put a condom on a stick.
Finally happened. I'm rapping at the festival. It's a bit of a stretch, but they asked me to be flexible, because fitting in my niche is like sitting in a vestibule. I'm trying to spread myself out without spitting a testicle, me holy trap. AKA Mr. Respectable. Blink and you'll miss me. I'm a living spectacle. If I didn't stand out, I'd be indetectable. An optical illusion if you're easily susceptible. I don't want beef. I'm basically a vegetable. Truth is hard to swallow, man. It's indigestible. I'm in a class of my own, but never was the best in school, so then they get straight to the point, like a decimal. Growing up every other weekend, we got evicted or shifted our digs if our family conflicted. Do you know why they say blood is the thicker liquid? Because sometimes the kids get conscripted. And I never used to drink because my mother was addicted and broke into my brother's piggy bank for a quick quid, afflicted with visions, cryptic images depicted, giggling riddles like a witch or a mystic. The picture on our fridge was ripped into a triptych, and I was trying to fix it with nothing but a prick stick. As quick wits were the only thing I was equipped with, and when we up sticks, we didn't stick who to stick with. Little man, it's time to quit acting like a big kid. My parents weren't strict, but their visits were restricted. My stepdad was suspicious with the slightest slip of lipstick, but they still clicked because they were equally sadistic. Shipwreck survivors, physical statistics. No logic other than emotional logistics. We kept the blanket in the back of the car, but no picnic. I knew the bottomless pit of being beyond optimistic. We hitched down a yellow brick road. We drifted. Went through a whole heap of grief, but we sifted. So I don't need handouts, I'm already gifted, and I raise my glass to keep my spirits uplifted. Thank you.
Does everyone remember when the US Central Command Twitter was hacked? It's a couple of months ago now. No, literally no one.
I do.
Next 2 minutes and leave. We had CENTCOM. Didn't know it would cause so much of a storm. Meant to read MCultra is the bomb, but I've got a black humour and I took it too far. I apologise for the wrong that I've done, but I'm a suicide bomb blown up tracks with a problem. If Judgment Day comes and I meet a God, I'm still reeling from the shock to listen to her talk, get sent down to hell, and I'm looking back up, watching all your feet trample me from above. It's like the glass ceiling just grew into form, and Lucifer whispers its allusion to Torah. She calls out for her archangel, who pulls out this fat book bigger than the Bible, ready to destroy my notions of fable. I start to build towers in my head like the fable. This time, diamond and much more stable. Unites confused tongues to a dagger that is able. Rest assured, we keep sure to our core as we travel, and always hold love in our hearts as a staple. But still roam the lands and splatter far like a paintball. Kaleidoscopes of colour covering plains as the rain falls. Build a big school and educate, but we're all fools. And consume cactus on every full moon's full. And make a priority. Rewrite history, antiquity and mystery. Into the future, we predict antipathy for mastery of depravity.
Corporate media legacy.
Fear of atrocities, all increased hostilities. We jacked this up before, but Russell Brand is a mouthpiece. A well-intentioned boy on the quest to hunt his world peace. So he meditates, holding focus to a heartbeat, embodied in the faceless, conscious reaction, aware of the unconditional faction, pure in its meeting, watching children speak on a concept that transcends numinosity. We're barely out the woods, but footprints deep. Our tools are evolved before we could just be. Not being cheesy, but I think we're on a path, so there is no end, because the gem is the answer. At this point, there's a cut from the angel. She'd been trying to stall while she found a page to recall the gospel of how I am culpable, insufferable, rock and school, kicking up a shitstorm. The story of how this creature was born unto a mother, didn't know what was in store. A lifelong circle running burdens like a whirlpool. Then there's the flutter from the upper balcony stools. The angels usher forth, gather in a circle. They take a deep breath as one, just as the voice calls. Thank you.
So we kind of go under names just to complicate things when we perform. It's the elephant, and ironically she's actually sick today. And I go under Holy Trap.
Not holy.
So this is one that is a bit more like a rap, but I'm quite tired. Nobody's sicker than the elephant, but lyrically pulling apart every little contain, willing every sycophant. We never miss a trick, never really spit significant. We want to see real magic, magnificent.
Holy trap!
Rap music made me militant and motivated me to keep it real and be resilient. But I take it too far, but I get belligerent, disrespecting innocent civilian. Some still spilling sibilance all over their pavilion. I pick the town by the 50 shades of a million. Listen for a minute, I'll avoid any ambivalence to burn these cats up resilience. I'm obliterating pillars, delivering equilibrium, and liberating citizens from spiritual imprisonment. The end is nigh, the finish line is imminent, the infinites and difference of filaments and ligaments. So live it up, diligent and vigilant, because you only fill it once you never get to give it. The sky's the limit, but the skill is limitless. Life isn't motivated, the mind isn't minibus. Pick up one thing, but never let it limit us. Rather be a little bit the body than a ridiculous. And finish with the fisticuffs and busy and resistance to picture me quitting. It's ridiculous. Follow me on Twitter, follow me into oblivion. My last name's I'm running a million. I mean every line, even though the city wants to stick to my gun, so I do what my willy wants. So whenever I apologise for any inconvenience, because I see one ingredient is civic disobedience. I'm sick of these critics thinking that we're just comedians, and they're putting us down like chameleons. called Anonymous. Because when I was a kid, I kept this poetry book, and I was always really inspired by this great author who wrote all these really diverse kind of poems. And I was like, who is this guy Anon? Like, how is he so good? Why does he do everything? I am the Anonymous. I am the eponymous and acknowledged anonymous. I could go on and on because I'm longer than an omnibus. And abominable and monstrous, in case it wasn't obvious, I drop atomic bombs upon these monitors. We are not synonymous, but honesty is ominous, and all the commoners will be goners unless they honour us. I'm going to use my consciousness to conquer these conglomerates, but I'm all about an earthly delights like Hieronymus. My wits are so minuscule. Here I'm in this pinnacle. Right. Okay, I already got one try. What is it? Anyone who has a guess? There's something that rhymes with. No, I've done that bit now. What is it? A bit like a.
You put a lot of faith in my memory.
I just skipped that bit, didn't I'm old school, heavy metal, wielding a golden axe to put a lot of money in the bag. Goldman Sachs, there's only one way out of this hole, it's a cul-de-sac. Everybody sold their soul, at least I went and stole it back. So I ain't gonna back down until I hold a plaque. I'm gonna break my shoulder till this boulder cracks. I'm so prolific, like a cool graffiti hieroglyphics. Now they know we're not a myth, but I already told them that. Thank you.
I've more lines than the Colosseum. My moods changeable as the 4 seasons. And I ain't talking fancy seasoning neither. A spring lamb, I'm vulnerable and I need you. An open flower, I give up my scent to intrigue you. My foliage changes colour as the sun starts to leave us. A she-wolf in winter, I'm out hunting to feed you. So when I return, gather for the storytelling procedure. Because I only speak a little bit of Greek. Epiarchian logos. See? In the beginning was the number, the reason, and the speech. I'm a star child out on a space odyssey, going out into the cosmos, defying gravity, and beaming back to revelation to a tribe called humanity, residing in a system in the Milky Way galaxy. I tell them, everything's gonna be just chocolate. And we can't just eat sweets, we gotta take our broccoli. That means less salty beef and we ought to talk properly. Less of the self, a little we in community. Mean greens for kids in need of nourishing. Vitamins from encouraging, gently touching and knowledge foraging. A little modesty and a seed of self-belief. Self being the I, the we, and anything in between. So here's my 2015 manifesto policy. I'm a beat inspiring and just delighted. I ain't gonna sleep until I'm struck by lightning. Don't get excited, God, I wasn't invited. But even then, I would be sky igniting, illuminating the land. You echo sighting, go all out, al fresco dining. This is a campaign piece, so stop the liking. I just had an epiphany. I'm like the white DFD. Listen my lips with ecstasy and a tongue so sleek. I'm like Asian chic. Chinese, Taiwanese, Indonesian, Japanese, Korean, Malaysian, Thai, Vietnamese. But I don't define boundaries. I'm internationalese. I transcend time from ancient Egypt to the Mars colony.
Roman Empire?
Wine, sex, and baths per diem.
The Mayans?
Handwriting systems making future predictions.
Incas?
Span South America, wedding brothers and sisters.
The Ottomans?
And slaves. A wave of poetry was written.
The Aztecs?
Believed it was end times in the sun of movement.
The Mongol Empire?
Largest in terms of land acquisitioned.
American superpower?
Now in the medal, uno position.
The British imperialism?
The influence and tradition. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks to Earlsdon Festival for a really good event. It's really heartening to see so much talent. Cultural Council have this aspiration, don't they, about being the European City of Culture in about 10 years. They've got nothing to worry about from what I've seen tonight anyway. So yeah, this first poem's based on kind of Orwellian's 1984 vibe, where he predicted a pretty dark future, and this is called Nigel Street, set shortly in the future. And down Birmingham, we've got a friend called Rangs there saying who took the photographs in that collection there. He went around Birmingham for about a year, going through taking pictures all across sort of different urban urban pictures of multicultural Britain. This is called Nigel Farage Street. Walk with me down Nigel Farage Street, and let's pound the street like a fascist's flag. We'll pass the bunting of a slaughtered pig, then you will look offended and I'll say token British things to make you feel better, like Mum said you're lovely for an Indian, and still lovely when I said you're Pakistani. Walk with me through minarets of snow, and we'll worship the sunset on Imperial Road, then place a bet at the bookies, where hope falls with the underdog, but we'll both lose together. Skulking off with our winnings of free reggae, past Jackie Yenka's house, muralled in street art. These streets bleed to life each night, you see. I was born in '73, so I kind of grew up in what they called sort of the Cold War, the Thatcher era as well. And my mum was a cleaner, and my dad was a toolmaker. I've written mostly about my dad, blue-collar workers, people that put bread on table, the unsung people, the people that are blurred out of focus. So this is a proud city that was built on engineering. I haven't written one for my mum, and this is the one I did, and it's called For Unremarkable Mothers. Are there any mothers in the room?
Yay!
Share the love. I was the song, swaddled from your womb, and you said my heart felt like rain, a faint whisper of your da when he gave you away in a higher day. I was the half-world you half-made and carried to Young Wives Club where women knitted limbs of blue and pink just to be on the safe side like. I was the little monster that scared you in the last month when I hadn't kicked you for soup and Arctic roll that had to be from B-Jam and Rushport from my dad. I was the unnamed flame pulsing in the night sky, filling cracks of hands that punched pistons, and a bloke down the road who swore at me ma. I was the son of a woman who spelt big words wrong, yet did little things right, who knew the dialect of love was the great and said till it had to be said. I was the son of a man who drank beer but displayed wine in spray-out cabinets that people thought was posh, till ma said shit and sorry, and take these if I may. I was the son of an unremarkable woman who wanted to be clever, and another more. Yeah, I was the son of a song never heard. So yeah, growing up in the 80s, it was a tough relationship I had with my old man, because he was really good at maths. He had to be, because toolmakers, the work of toolmakers is quite sort of, everything's done in measurements. And I was shite at maths in school. I had learning difficulties at secondary school, apart from English, creative subjects. So me and my dad, we clashed quite a bit. But when you sort of grow a bit older, you learn to love the man as well as the father. Hindsight is a wonderful thing when you're looking back. This is called Coventry Carol, and it's basically for every bloke and every woman that works in a factory, working every shift under the bloody sun to put food on table. If I tied my city to a pigeon's neck, it would fly to a factory and die there. If I tied my city to a pigeon's neck, I think it would break into blue-collar flowers. If I tied Margaret Thatcher to a robin redbreast, it would turn into a scab that dies singing. And all the lathes would turn in their grave where jaguars roared from heels of men. If I untied Coventry from claws of its phoenix, men would rise from the old world again, breaking windows of fat brown envelopes, making their blitz from doormill coal. these are all new. I've got 3 books, but I'm going to read a few war poems in a minute. But there was a series of robberies at the, you probably heard about them around different sort of news agents around commentary, off licenses and stuff. And I was, it doesn't matter who said it, but I remember hearing somebody saying, well, you know, there was 2, I think there were 2 or 3 in a car down Bramshill Green Road that got killed. And it pissed me off because, you know, this jacket, let's have a look at it for a minute. Hang on. So this jacket here is got a label on it called Next. And it means a lot to some people, shopping in Next. You know, obviously it meant something to me, I bought it, but we label things. But most people put an emphasis on the label and not everything else. These guys were labelled. I don't condone what they did, but they were lives that mattered to someone. And this is called The Unmourned Chavs Who Died in a Stolen Nissan. In the earmarked wood, night still hoists its black sail, enslaved beyond the crime scene acres of strewn youth, who stole their lives for stolen Rothmans, and rush-gathered alcohol smashed to smithereens with bone in the blue woods, where police cars were lighthouses, guiding in the sailing dead. All the birds tweeted messages and shared news of a burning birch that threw its silver into the moon and died shrieking for the songbird it was. And all the mothers gave their eyes as bird tables to douse the flames of their goslings and caroled them to sleep with songs of half-assed mockingbirds that even chavs can sing. The God-fearing village called on ne'er-do-wells and later sang of proverbs from the carved pews, where birds were carved into oak and nests were thrown from the rafters for the overfunded roof. They said these chavs got what they deserved. Their lives were stolen goods. These chavs were nothing but scum, they said. The charred wood haunted the moon, and the migrant birds sprayed colour over our city. I went to Earlsdon Primary School, not far from here, and there was one black kid in the year, in the whole school actually, and I hung around with him. I thought he was Michael Jackson. We were in a band and that, we were going on mini pops. But it's a good job we didn't, because Jimmy Savile was on it once, so really good. I've got out of that one pretty easy. This is called the Cold War. After shifts, we turned beds of an overgrown paddock, cut silence with stones we loved at factory cats, and Mum stared at Dad staring where his dad knelt in spring. After shifts, I watched my dad take deep breaths by the gate, looking for the sun in himself so he could play. The sky broke, and he broke, with half-priced bread that smelt of turmeric. After shifts, Jagdish stopped moaning how black he felt when Dad patted Snowman black till his hands burned, walking into headlights like a poor man's James Dean. After shifts, a klaxon shot birds over our rooftops, and we drank those cups of grass where Red Starts sang the lyric of factories from. One night the snow stopped, but the song carried on till dawn. After shifts, I wanted to be like my dad and bend things with fire, but something made the snowman collapse into itself whilst smiling. It was a bit like all of us that winter in 1984. I had a second collection of poetry published in 2011. It's Coventry's first collection of all poetry. The cathedral wouldn't stock it because they didn't think poetry would sell. But it had no pictures in it. But more importantly than that, it was partly inspired by the death of a paratrooper in Southwark called Jeff Doherty. Growing up in the 80s, I remember Thatcher's attitude towards the hunger strikers, and a child can't be wrong really. I had no political kind of understanding what was going on, but I just thought it was wrong that a woman could be so uncaring about people dying. And I wanted to do something for this paratrooper's family, so we did a fundraising event, and I got to meet some of Jeff's comrades. And as things happened, it just inspired poem after poem. It was a flood of inspiration. And since then, I think it's important to remember, 453 soldiers have been killed in Afghanistan. 20,000 Afghan civilians have also been killed. 187 British soldiers have committed suicide since 2001. £30 billion has been spent on our interventions in Iraq and Afghanistan. £7 million has been allocated by the MOD for their post-traumatic stress disorder. £7 million. £30 billion spent. This is all about consequences of war. This poem's called yeah, I'm going to read this poem. It's called To the East. Her womb once carved a sun of rose red and sunflower. His anaesthetic eyes were new worlds and conquered. They eclipsed as she fed him. When he was 21, a stonemason knocked her door and carved away her world with a glance. The caesarean soiled birth grief stiff and still as salute. His coffin lay empty. Her ovaries throbbed like harps for him. Nothing would come there. A moon would melt her breasts. Her shadow etched to the east. And yeah, the detritus of war ends with things such as this. Emptying a wardrobe, artifacts of a life. This is called The Seventh Son. 3 lions roar through cirrus, dens of silica await them. Triumphant mouths of grass fill frown lines with tears. Soon they will shoot sky and reload the soil. Our skies are pallbearers. Aeroplanes writing wisps of men, moaning high over Darlington, landing in a loved one's throat. In London, ministers argue expenses. In York, a father fills carry bags, walking the scent of his son to Oxfam. I'm going to finish on this poem here. It's I'm dedicated to Chris Connolly for all his work he's done on Gaza. He put on an event at Coventry Cathedral in April. But had another remembrance event on, and this is what happens when you get passionate people trying to work together. They never end up working together. Doing stuff. This is called I dreamt of Gaza last night and it woke me. Over Coventry, Hull. Over Kensington, pastels and Gaza, let's blow out the wicks of starlight and fill nothingness. Reset. All that's left is a generator shaken with a child and bird, searching for an Eve somewhere in the eyes of our mothers. I want to love the unpeeling suns of tomorrow and after yet. This world is rolling in marbles in a street I'll never know. The world is here in the hospital whites that blot full stops of war's last word. I was kissed on the lips hard by my wife last night and we made love for crayon parents drawn by a daughter gone mad. What a gift. We awoke in our bed and my arms were strewn across your sternum, and somewhere else the lovers never woke in their quilt of tiles and sky. I want to save their imprints of sleep in disturbed lace and stroke their heads and tell them that you are thought of and felt some way far from here. Over Luton, Milton Keynes and gods that look away on Westminster marble, I want to say I am loved and warm and safe and sorry and ashamed a little. I want to say the world is in a marble that rolls down the street in the crosshairs, and I want to feel safe in this house where warmth and food is rife, because I am selfish and selfless enough to say I am loved and can love the flagless breaths of all the hand-me-down butterflies that lay in the depot of Gaza's pounded heart.
Whoa, 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 whoa!